very honored to even have my little project being
I thought it was
seen.
great. I thought your performance was great, and it without a spoiler, the first kind of reveal of who you're talking to and what it's about, I think it's hilarious. It's a
Thank
really
you.
nice, it's a really nice setup, Matt. So yeah, it's I really enjoyed it. And so
It
yeah,
definitely
how
feels
did
like
you
it's
find
a
how did you find out about festival?
I well, one of my friends, I think his, why am I blanking on his name? Um, Let me look. I'll double check what his name is because he just did a film that I think was in your festival last year.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
let me double check to see because I'll remember the
We
name
can
of.
we can cut out you blanking of your friend's
I
name.
don't know. Ryan. I knew it was Ryan. Ryan Roxenberg.
Oh,
I
he
think.
this year, Oxenberg.
Yeah, Oxenberg. Is
Yeah,
it this year? His
this
film?
year. Yeah.
Okay, well, because his, I saw that he followed you. Something I don't know how I found. I was looking up. You know what? I was looking up uh, pandemic-based film festivals because I had this little short that I made, and then I saw you guys, and then I saw you guys on Instagram, and I saw that he followed you guys, and him and I are good friends, and he actually saw my short before I had, after I had made it and stuff, and so it just sort of affirmed me. I was like, okay, because I think he's such an amazing filmmaker too. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I got to submit to you guys.
Yeah, and I love Ryan's character, the type of guy he is. And I've
Yeah.
got a lot of friends have similar energy. That's not a bad thing. It's like super positive and like you've seen his film.
The core he's just going kind of crazy.
Yeah, his editing was just because that's my background originally is editing,
Yeah.
film for God knows how long now. Um, but yeah, I really kind of dug the craziness that his character goes through,
Yes.
and it represents the mind of so many people over the last year or 18 months.
Exactly.
But I loved how he used footage from his previous film from like 20 years ago, 15 years ago or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's brilliant, and and I think that him and I had joked about how like we need to do one where these two characters meet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we were kind of joking about doing that because a lot of because I think for me and like what Ryan does too is just the people are awkward and people are eccentric, and I think like that's all you need for an interesting story.
Yeah.
So that's where and we both express it obviously very differently, but
Yeah.
so.
So how did you kind of when was your initial idea for your short?
So I make content on my YouTube channel. I have weekly content that I put out on my YouTube channel, and I do a lot of I do a lot of mental health based content, and I do like autobiographical sketch comedy with a mental health focus. But I wanted to do something that was narrative, because like my other stuff, it's me talking to the camera, then I cut away to scenes, and it's funny, and I'm usually trying to like carry a message or some be of service to people in some way. But I wanted to just make a film that just showed the experience of, like, I went through a bad breakup 2 years ago, and then like right before the pandemic started, that's when I started to date again. and, and then when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, I think I'm still just supposed to be by myself for a while and just be single.
Yeah.
And then when you're by yourself, like you hear so many people talk about their experiences. Like some people are having really amazing experiences with the pandemic and really finding themselves, and then other people are really struggling. And I've kind of had both experiences. And so I just try to grab from my own sense of awkwardness of my life experience. And for me, the biggest thing about the pandemic was learning how to sit and be with myself. And
That's massive. Yeah.
yeah, and I had the experience. I was dating someone for a while during the pandemic, and then it just wasn't working, and I realized like, okay, this is really a time for me to get to know myself. And I did everything I said in the video. I went and bought a piano that I have not learned yet. Like I did all the things that I wrote about in the film.
Yeah.
And just wanting to like I think a lot of it was just me being a little bit cathartic and just working through my own stuff and having a conversation with me. So that's kind of
Yeah,
where it came from.
like this, like things from that you've kind of buried deep in your subconscious come to when you've got that thinking time on your own, come to the
Yeah.
surface really
Yeah.
quickly.
Well, and I don't think we live in a world too that really embraces solitude, you know, like there's a real difference between loneliness and solitude.
Yeah,
And I think getting to that place of being able to embrace solitude and embracing like sitting with yourself, you know, it's for me, it's been a real thing of like learning to be my own friend and learning how to enjoy my own company. And, you know, what better way than just to
yeah,
write me talking to myself.
yeah. I kind of I totally dig that, and I understand that. And when the pandemic hit, and where I work, it was when I went home. I'm usually surrounded by half a dozen people, and we work really kind of well together creatively, and
Mhm.
produce a lot of video stuff for local businesses and that kind of thing. And as soon as we were home, it was like, holy shit! I'm with my own thoughts. You know, I've got my other half here, and my tiny little dog. So I just woke her up when I went back out to change my shirt. But yeah, it was crazy to be at home, and you know, and then I kind of found how to be, you know, be alone with my thoughts. It sounds a bit much, but that's how I felt. It was really difficult to work at home without
Yeah.
people around me. And then I got used to it. You know, my partner, she works for the NHS in the UK, and
Uh-huh.
she's got her own stress. And I thought, right, I need to make sure there's no stress in the house, and my anxiety doesn't need to kind of boil up. And then
Right.
see, like our wedding got cancelled twice, and then
Oh no.
I got COVID in December. I nearly died in the hospital.
Oh my
so
God.
so many. And I thought, you know what? Since then, I just thought, yeah, if it happens, it happens. You know, I've had
Yeah.
this kind of chilled up Matthew McConaughey vibe going on since then.
Nice. Nice.
So yeah,
I love
without the bongos though. So
right.
yeah,
Like I also during the pandemic, like that was the one thing too, being single during the pandemic, like you like I who am I where you know we have to quarantine and isolate my producing partner, you know, who also helps me with my YouTube videos, Dan. I I basically said to him, I was like, listen, I need you in my quarantine pod. Like I need to be able to just like I just need to be able to go see one person in person. And so him and his wife were kind of like my quarantine pod people because
oh, awesome. So
on creative work.
what were the rules in? So where are you based exactly?
I'm in Los Angeles.
So
So
what was the rule locally to LA?
well basically um I mean, that's the thing. Everybody was kind of quarantine potting with different people, but I mean, we had pretty strict regulations here. Everything shut down. Like my day job, I worked at a restaurant, completely shut down for months. I mean, pretty much a year.
Yeah.
Um, and you could really only go outside to get your groceries. You can go for walks. Uh, Even if you're outside walking by yourself, you pretty much needed to wear your mask. Even our parks, like our national, like our big parks, some of them were working at limited capacity. So it felt pretty. We were pretty shut down because we had a pretty big uptick in cases at one point.
Yeah, oh yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah,
Jesus. Yeah.
it was really bad here for a while.
Yeah, and it's there's so much kind of craziness in terms of I don't want to go down talking about the fake news and all of that. And
Yeah,
there's just so much going on. And
yeah.
oh my God, you just need
Well, especially
everyone.
here, go ahead.
You just need everyone to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah. Especially here in the States with, you know, we had so much social upheaval also happening.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was just an influx of everything happening at once, which I think contributed to this whole experience of social distancing and having to be alone and try to like it was just it was a really crazy year. It was a crazy year for everybody, I think, all over the world. But it's just like culturally for here in America, it was a very we all went through a culture shock where it's like we just as a country had to shut down, and then you saw how different people were responding to it, and you know it's a very personal experience.
Yeah. My survival mechanism was creating more work for myself.
Yeah.
And not paid work, but it's amazing work. Like speaking to hundreds of filmmakers worldwide's been amazing, and it's, you know, and I got genuine lifelong friends from this now, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And I always think it's worth it just for that. And then I got sent some messages in December when I was seriously ill, and I was
Oh,
like in hospital. I was emotionally like an open wound. Do you know?
yeah.
So, like not being able to see anyone, only doing video chats, like you know, like not being able to see more than 4 words. It was
Yeah.
crazy. So, but yeah, it's that's how I coped. I kind of watched a hell of a lot more movies and just kind of knuckled down and thought, what do I really want to do online? Because I didn't necessarily want to become like an online personality in any way, but I wanted to do something creatively online and what
Yeah.
connects with me. And ideally, I've got a separate film festival called the Hellbound Horror Festival as well.
Oh, I love her.
That's in October. We had exceptional judges last year. We had the production designer of Jaws and the director of The Crow as our two main judges.
Nice.
So yeah, it was. So that's kind of where my real love is with horror, because you can tell by some of this here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where, you know, I'm possibly looking to do the Isolation Film Festival next year, but how relevant it's going to be, that's the
Right.
thing that's going to, you know, towards the end of the year, I'll make that decision.
Yeah.
Maybe just do one overall festival, but it's probably going to be based on horror, and then just
Yeah.
continue that. So yeah, it's amazing to see what people have done.
It is.
Last
It is.
year.
People have really found. I think too. Just so many people are sort of questioning their life choices in general because of this, and then to see how it's being reflected in people's videos and or in their films and in their creativity. It's been really. It's interesting to see how people are responding.
Yeah, I love. I kind of like. I love to kind of connect with you and Ryan. It's interesting to see where people's minds are at. Like Ryan's like Hunter S. Thompson or something. You know, his mind's gone crazy, and I love that. You know, so if you think about the film, it's so ridiculous, but it's so on point as well.
People, I feel like when you watch his film, people are either like, "Oh my god, I get it," or other people are like, "What did I just watch?"
Yeah.
You know, and I think
Initially, I thought the latter,
uh-huh.
but I really am in the firm camp of, yeah, I totally know where you're at with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's just been so much. You know what? I think that like even with the little film I made, I learning how to just work within the parameters. Like I filmed that by myself, and the other person who's in the project, I still haven't met her in person.
So how did that work with the character development? And is it another actor online you found, or?
So I have a relatively large following on TikTok,
Awesome.
and so I she kind of we had started following each other, and I really liked her content. So when I write a character, I a lot of times I'll write it for the actor, and I kind of knew what I wanted that character to be, and like the kind of the sauciness that she could bring to it. So like when we were her name is Jess Alexander. So when we were filming, I basically just kept telling her, I was like, all right, be meaner, like, because I knew that even if she was super mean to me, it would still be funny and you would get why she felt the way she did. Because I've watched some of her videos on TikTok and she's just very pointed. I'm like, be that way, like be mean to me. Like I just kept saying,
Yeah.
be mean, and it worked really well.
So she's not an actress at all or anything like that?
No,
Or?
she is. She's an actress and she's done a lot of improv.
Yeah, she's
So
good. She's really good.
oh, she was great. Yeah. And so when we filmed it, it was so easy just to, just to turn on the literally just done over Zoom, and we filmed it, that one night, and it was just a
It's
lot of fun.
Isn't it great to have that kind of challenge as well? It's like you feel as if for some real weird thing before pandemic,
Mhm.
you you want to create films, but this has given people like a real kick, a real impetus to go, right, I need to channel my energy somewhere.
Hmm. Well,
Uh,
and my insecurity as a filmmaker is, you know, because a lot of the stuff I film by myself. And so here I was going to film a short film, and I was still filming it by myself, and not having really any real, not having a cinematographer or anything like that. So it was like, how am I going to make this interesting if I'm literally just, I'm doing you know, shot, and it makes you just sort of, for me, it's those limitations teach me how to trust myself as a storyteller,
yeah,
and to try to, how can I just let these performances kind of be what it's about,
yeah,
so that was, because there's so many people that have so much amazing talent with what they can do with cameras, but also it's like when you're sitting by yourself, it's like what can you do and what can't you do?
yeah. There's a weird kind of trap you're in, because you can have all the gear in the world, but then it's like, even when huge filmmakers say like Mel Gibson or something, he's directing something he's in, like a Braveheart, for instance. It's
Yeah.
He's got all the budget in the world and the tools and everything, but he's got other people. So when you try and shoot something on your own, you put this weird, like I kind of suffer from anxiety, like unfounded anxiety sometimes, where it's just like permutates out of nowhere. It's like the ooze in Ghostbusters 2. It just comes, seeps out the ground.
I'm on medication for anxiety, buddy, so I get it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, when you create something like that, and that's what it must have been. Is this the first thing you've shot with yourself in it, in terms of like a narrative short?
Well,
Because
no, so a
I know you've
couple
got a lot of
I,
the kind of YouTube content, but you've got, obviously
yeah.
this a bit more.
So I made another short film about like 5 years ago that I wrote, that I acted in. And but I had like a small crew for that. So that was a whole different. It was actually kind of a horror. It was like it was called Affirmation. I'm really into mental health, but so it was called Affirmations. It's about this guy who was obsessed with saying affirmations, and you realize he was trying to actually get the courage up to kill somebody.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that.
So, but
We're actually supporting. This isn't public knowledge yet. I've kind of alluded to. We're doing a T-shirt to help. Basically, in Canada, we had so many submissions from Canada, and
mhm,
the filmmaking talent there is amazing outside Toronto and all of that. And in the US, we've had a lot of films this year. It's been really fun to see different approaches, different styles, and all of that. And because Canada, a lot of the filmmakers are based in Toronto, we wanted to support a mental health charity, and that's what we're doing.
awesome.
We're doing a limited run of a T-shirt. It's just a film festival. We're supporting Jack.org. It's a mental health charity based in Canada. We wanted to do something kind of worldwide, but there's a lot of. I've done work for charities before,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of not profiteering, but their overheads are ridiculous.
yeah,
Some of the biggest ones in the UK, the overheads are over 60-70% of what they earn, which is crazy to me.
yeah,
So yeah, Jack.org, that's who we're supporting this year. And you're the first person outside of my close circle to kind of know that. So
nice.
yeah, we're releasing a T-shirt to help that charity.
Well, let
Because
me know how I can support. I'll even
yeah, we're
put
just like pushing it out on social media, whatever. It's kind of
yeah,
like, it's just that kind of thing. And we've got the design, and it's like a fun little design. And yeah, we kind of want to support diversity and mental health. Just imagine what people are going through this year, and
yeah.
it's crucial that it's supported.
Well, I'm also like, I'm in recovery. I'm in addiction recovery. So like I've been in recovery from binge eating disorder for 14 years. And like
Wow.
my top weight was 340 pounds. So I've been in, so I've lost over 160 pounds, and
Well
like
done to
that's,
you.
thank you. I'm very grateful for my recovery. And I also talk on my different social medias about like struggling with like love addiction and things like that. And when you think about what this pandemic has been so challenging to people, and I know so many people who have relapsed in so many different areas of their lives during this time.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, and you know, I just think life is really messy, and I think life is really awkward, and it's like that's the more we can put an emphasis on kind of being able to laugh at ourselves and laugh at the mess and laugh at the awkwardness, then we can kind of, it's easier to get through it. Because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and when we're literally stuck at home with ourselves, I feel like it's been a lot for people.
That's so true. It's so true. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how people that are introverts, like being on their own, how they've kind of navigated this last 18 months.
Well, like my joke is like I've loved it because I don't like people. So that's been sort of my joke. But I really I've actually come out of this realizing how much more like I want to have deeper relationships with people, and deeper connections with friends, and really wanting to be more social, because I can kind of consider myself an introvert, or what is that, an extroverted introvert, or
Yeah.
but more than anything, I actually think all of this is, there's so many more things I've been like, after this pandemic, I'm like, I don't really know what I am. I don't know if do I need a lot of people? Do I not? Like, because there were times where I got really lonely for sure.
Absolutely. What have you kind of missed that's coming back now? What have you missed doing or going to, or places to go?
Um, Honestly, going to see movies
Yeah,
like that.
100%. Yeah.
Oh God. And I went, so far I've seen two in the theaters, here, because they have reopened, but like, you have to wear your mask the whole time. And there's actually a lot of theaters here that have shut down for good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've heard of the ArcLight in Hollywood.
Hasn't AMC bought that?
Yes.
I
Apparently, I
think they
think,
bought the Cinerama Dome as well.
yeah. So so it'll be interesting to see what it all turns into. But
Arclight's like legendary. Even people that haven't been there know how kind of
yeah,
historic it
I
is.
the film festival I produced was at ArcLight. So the idea of it closing, and it's in the heart of Hollywood, and but you know what? It was also interesting too, how like all the movies you wanted to see in the theaters, like HBO had that deal with, was it Warner Brothers?
Oh yeah, that crazy deal.
Right. And so also to have that experience of actually getting to watch movies through, I think it was helpful for me this year, because I was like, I wanted to feel like I was seeing new movies, and
Yeah.
I got to, because of what they had
Well,
done.
like there's pros and cons to that, and I didn't want to see Godzilla versus Kong on a TV in my house, even if it was 100-inch,
Right.
because you know what I mean. I want it to be stories high. I want to see it on IMAX, want air conditioning,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we don't really have air conditioning in the UK.
Oh, really?
So, in terms of your house, you have a window open and a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not like a unit in the window or anything like that,
Yeah.
or other systems. But so a summer in the UK, because there's no air conditioning at homes. When you go to the cinema, it's like a really special. It's the same thing
Right.
as you experienced there, in terms of a real
Yeah.
experience. And I love. I used to be an usher. That's one of my. I think it was my second job ever was being an usher, and I loved it. It was the best experience.
Uh-huh.
And there was
I worked
this.
at a movie theater too.
Oh, also,
I was a projectionist.
also what, 35 mil?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That
awesome.
right. I was I had just graduated high school. It was my summer job before I went off to college.
Yeah, I loved it. I
Yeah.
love doing all that. And
But
I'll tell you,
go ahead.
no, sorry, I'll tell you a funny story. There's in the cinema I used to work at, the building doesn't exist anymore. And I worked in Manchester in the northwest of UK, and
Uh-huh.
all these other cinemas when I was in university doing a film degree. And it was the year Stigmata came out with, I think it was Patricia Arquette and Gabriel Byrne. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's Gabriel Byrne's in everything.
Yeah.
And the 35 mil print they had was going between two screens, and they had this like system where they could put it on a reel. Obviously it
Yeah.
goes from one reel to another,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was going from one projection system through another in a different part of the cinema. So if
Yeah.
you went upstairs to where all the projection booths were, these two were connected, and it was really crazy to see the strip of film going to the other side.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not like a known thing. So basically you only needed one reel. That was the magic of it.
Yeah.
The film snapped, and like it basically melted on, I think it was the lens. But basically,
Oh my
it
god.
melted when she was getting stigmata.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so people in two screens thought it was something to do with the film, or it just like
Uh-huh.
it was a magical moment. It was a
Wow.
nightmare, but it was a magical moment. You know the
Yeah.
score. You can't rewind the film or anything. So
No. I gotta say, being in projections was a stressful job. I was always every time, because once you thread that film, and it's just, yeah, it was stressful. But full circle though with this pandemic, literally, I was so excited to see A Quiet Place Part 2,
me too.
and it was literally gonna come out like I think a week around the time that everything shut down, and
That's
I
right.
mean, I hadn't wanted to be so excited to see a movie in such a long time. And then everything shut down. I was like, oh my God. And I got to see it the other day in the theater. And it was just, it was kind of weird to just be like, wow, this was literally that moment, like that thing that everything stopped. And now it's like, okay, we're like back to normal. Like we're doing those things again.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Hopefully, I'm going to see it this weekend. I think I might do a triple bill. I might do that, Mortal Kombat, and King Kong.
Whoa, okay. See, I saw
I haven't
both
done
of
that for
those.
years. I haven't done like a back-to-back or triple bill for years. So I think
Nice.
this Saturday might be the day. But yeah, A Quiet Place looks amazing, and
It was great.
Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. He's got real directing chops and writing chops, So fair play to him for.
Well, he's one of my. I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's what I want to do is be a filmmaking and acting and putting myself in my own projects. And I think that's another thing is like we're seeing more and more people do that. Like creating their own opportunities and creating their own work. And he's fantastic at it.
Yeah.
And he really created a cohesive film that really connects to the first one.
Oh, that's important, and I'm very curious about that and how that's going to work. But yeah, it's an interesting time, and hopefully things gradually, slowly get back to normal. Oh, I just remembered the last film I saw before everything shut down in the UK was The Invisible Man, and which was amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing that her performance, Elizabeth Moss, is incredible.
Great. Yeah.
But then because we opened up again a little bit in the UK, like football stadiums had limited capacity, that kind of thing. Or soccer stadiums, sorry. And we had cinemas or theaters were open again. And I went to see Christopher Nolan's Tenet. And I'm not a fan. I'm a huge. I love Christopher Nolan. I think he's a genius. I think I'm not saying the next Ridley Scott, but he's got that kind of, that excitement. Let's go and see the Ridley Scott. Let's go and see the Nolan, the Spielberg. He's kind of got that vibe. And so much there's a few technical things like, I know you're not necessarily supposed to hear what people are saying, but it's really fucking mumbled.
The audio people were saying was messed up with that film.
Mix that really took me out of the experience, and then that kind of soured my whole enjoyment of it. Visually, I love what he does, and shooting everything on IMAX, he's crazy, but that's such good fun as well. Like shoulder mounting.
I love Tenet. A lot of my friends weren't as into it, but I think Christopher Nolan, I don't know any other way to explain it. I just feel like he is channeling something that's a little otherworldly. Like when you look at the stories that he makes, I feel like he's talking about things in a way that you never see. Like I loved Interstellar. I just love all of his films, but he's talking about things and storytelling in a way that to me is just like there's something he's trying to say that I don't even think he knows he's trying to say.
Yeah, I totally dig that. Yeah, his Interstellar and that reveal with Matt Damon is like casting wise, how the hell did they keep that secret?
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you got a huge crew, you got huge, you know, the actors. That was like, oh my god, I didn't know he was in this. That was really stellar and a kind of really twisted role. I loved his kind of Robinson Crusoe kind of like going through a real mental break. You know, I love that.
It did take me out of it for a minute though. When Matt Damon appeared on screen, I was like,
That's
oh,
true. Yeah, yeah.
that's Matt Damon. Okay, he's in this.
That's a fair point. That's a fair way to look at it. Actually, saying, yeah, oh wow, he's in it. He's in it. The fact that
Yeah,
you're formulating that sentence in your mind, he's in it, takes you out of it. So you are absolutely right. And
yeah.
but yeah, it's.
But Tenet, when I saw that movie, I had to go and Google for like a day to understand, like to wrap my mind around what I was seeing. Like, but I appreciated it. I'm like, if you're making something that's so complicated that I really have to stop. I was talking to my friend. I was like, I can't believe Tenet wasn't up for best editing. And my friend goes, he goes, well, Matt, if no one understood it, is it good editing? But I'm like, I think that's the point.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Actually, that's a fair point. I think the editing was. There's something really like Dunkirk when you look at when you just look at the technical aspects of that, the editing and how he structured the film. It
Mm-hmm.
was genius. You know, the land, the water, the air.
Yeah.
It just absolute genius. So I appreciate many aspects of Tenet, but it was just like I'm not going to call it a gimmick, but the idea of what the things going backwards, it
Yeah.
really like it was something I just didn't like. Wasn't that I misunderstood it, and I like you, I Googled a lot of stuff after it, and I loved Kenneth Branagh in it. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah. You know what it is? Your mind when you're watching that film, your mind has to, we only think it's difficult to think linearly and backwards. So you almost have to watch the movie twice from a different perspective because it's like two different stories being told at the same time.
That's interesting. And this is a really small gripe, but it's a production gripe with Nolan generally.
Uh-huh.
When he destroys something like a huge building, like in The Dark Knight, or he has the plane go into the hangar and explodes and all of that. The issue I have with that is those two things. There was no human element to it. There was no like people dying or people escape or anything like that. They're very empty set pieces. That was kind of there's little tiny gripes. Like, the whole thing where Heath Ledger's trying to press the thing for to destroy the building. I thought that was brilliant. It was so funny and twisted. But there was the trepidation and the danger and people not being able to escape. You just saw the building exploding. You don't see any human element to it.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a disconnect, but I think I love the idea of, these two forces at the end of the film or beginning of the film, whatever, are going backwards and forwards at the same time to try and defeat this situation. I thought that was brilliant.
But the weird thing too for me, like just with the kind of films I love big movies like that. And then also, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie called Junebug. It was the movie that Amy Adams got.
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
I love that movie just as much as I do like a Christopher Nolan film.
Totally. Yeah.
Like, and that's probably where my inspiration, like, I don't even know if I could ever make a film the way like that big. I can't even imagine what it's like. I'd like to just ask him what his process is. Like, how do you write? Like, how do you stay on top of that? But then like the simple story of like Junebug, like that's what I gravitate towards is like the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that show This Is Us. It's like, how do they keep track of all those storylines? I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, and like if you watch, one of my favorite films is LA Confidential, and I love how dense and complicated it is.
Yeah.
And I always how it all comes together towards the end. I always kind of understand and go, this is fantastic. Now I remember how it all puts together. As soon as I leave watching it a few hours later, I forget how it works. Which
Right.
is
Yeah.
testament to the writing, the complexity, and
Yeah.
like you say, I personally love to know what Nolan's process is for there's always going to be a seed that kind of sprouts the kind of initial idea, and I love to pick his brain about that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's nice to see complicated. And it's nice to see simple. Like when the Invisible Man came out, I thought, right, I like the idea that's coming from the her point of view rather than say the Claude Rains point of view.
Yeah.
He's going to madman, and I love the science behind it, where it's not a formula that he drinks; it's something else. If you've not seen it,
No, it's so great.
it's just fantastic, and it kind of every. I think Bloomhouse is one of my favorite productions companies because of the, in terms of limitations, they always work within a budget. He gives directors a real chance. There's not too many notes, so I kind of really appreciate that approach.
But isn't his model too with making films where he'll he'll put out those smaller, low budget films that kind of help serve to fund the one big tent house film he does every year? Isn't that sort
Yeah,
of what
that's right. Yeah, and look, you've got Get Out that made a huge amount of money, so
Mhm.
that ends up being massive. Even
Yeah.
though it was a relatively small film, but you got Jordan Peele's genius idea, and
Yeah.
the writing from his point of view is just fantastic. It's so kind of
Yeah.
on point with what's going on in the world now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like you can love crazy mega action movies that are $400 million films, and then you can love something that's a Blair Witch that's like what $60,000 or whatever it is, or less than that. So
Well, I was just sitting down with a screenwriter, and he was kind of helping me explain his process for writing his projects. And we were talking about, um, defining who the hero, the protagonist, and who the antagonist is. And it's really interesting. And he broke down the film Armageddon. He goes like, stick with me here. And he goes, you would think that the antagonist is the meteor, or like they have to stop the meteor. But how like the protagonist is Ben Affleck and the antagonist is Bruce Willis, the guy who is the father of his daughter. And it's just really interesting when you stop and just realize, like, at the end of the day, any story, if it's going to be good, it's got to come back down to like those basics, no matter how big it is.
absolutely, absolutely right. Those kind of core human elements. It's always got to be down to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which it's just like, and that's where I think for me as a writer, I think when you have to work within those limitations, I think that's what makes you focus on the story and the characters. And then from there, whenever I've written anything, it's always been bigger than what, like whenever I write a short film or whatever, it's always too many pages and it's too long. And then when I stop and think about what can I afford and how much space do I actually have,
Yeah,
and like the short that's single distancing was originally, I had scenes all throughout the my home, and I was going to have my character having conversations in different rooms. And
it works so well. You don't need that additional content, that kind of,
exactly. Yeah.
because you're kind of in the back of your mind, you're thinking, do I have enough content? And then when you kind of strip that back, you find the real kind of beating heart of the film. Then I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the big thing. My producing partner is always, whenever I write anything, he's always like, keep it simple, keep it simple.
Yeah, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, and it's cheaper for sure, for sure.
So, how did you find the kind of balance between, I don't want to give away too much of a spoiler, but talking with yourself was production wise, was it easy just to flip your angle, or how did you kind of work that out? What you did you shoot
I
everything in blocks, like one character first, then the other?
Yeah, I just did all one character first, and then I filmed the other character. And I knew, I kind of, because I edit my own films, so I also kind of knew at what point I was probably going to feel comfortable cutting to another character. So I knew how much I wanted to say all in one take. so I gave myself a lot of footage to play with. Probably helped the performance as well.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't liking how something was being said, I could, I could kind of play with it and find what was going to work. But you know what, um the second character, I didn't realize how frustrated my second character was with the first guy until I was filming it. I realized, I realized like I can be really annoyed with myself, and so that was kind of fun to explore.
That's cool. It's that process of putting that together, and isn't it amazing? I know kind of, no matter what level you're at of filmmaking, how much can be sculpted at the editing process. That's why I love editing, you see, and that's why it's my kind of my jam. And how much goes into finding the story again, shooting to edit, like a lot of people say. It's really fascinating how performances can be dramatically changed based on just an editing choice between a few people. It really does fascinate me. Like a giant movie comes down to a few people in the end: the editor, the producer, the director. It's really fascinating.
I really look at editing. Editing to me is like, I feel like music. It's music, that's when I'm editing anything. It's like I want, if I need to put music in the project, like that's one of my favorite parts, is discovering what song I want in a video or in a film. But then also just like you have to have you have to know the beats, like you have to, the rhythm of it. And because I don't consider myself to be an amazing musician, but when I'm editing a video, I can tell when it has
it's working.
The lyrical quality to it that makes it work.
I just put a show reel together of all my kind of cinematography, my corporate work and that kind of thing, and I've had this piece of music in mind, and I had downloaded it like a year ago. So, right, it's time to put a new show reel together. And it kind of connected with me personally, the type of pace it was, and peaks and troughs in speed to allow more action to kind of unfold. But yeah, it's amazing how music can kind of carry, and just imagine Jaws without those tones, the piano music, and it's amazing what it can do. And it's a big part. It's something that's kind of easily thrown together by some people that I think, right, I'll just find a piece of music and they kind of just slap it on after. But I think it's something you should always constantly be thinking about whilst you're making your short films and features as well.
Well, and also learning not to rely on it. I think I also can really easily rely on music to kind of help me create my tone of a film, where like it needs to be there without the music. It needs to be there with, so because that's one thing that, even with my weekly YouTube videos I do, like I've really had to learn how to trust that the audience will get the emotion and have the experience I want them to have. Where sometimes I can find I'll put music in there or certain sound effects because I'm actually trying to manipulate the audience. And that's an interesting, knowing when is it needed and when is it not.
Absolutely. It's like I'm the best. There's moments in cinema based on music that I'm always fascinated about, and the biggest one for me is Once Upon a Time in the West. The fact that music was already written for the film before they shot the film, and I thought I'd love to know what Leon Lee thought of how that informed his cinematography and the pacing and everything. Because if you watch the film, it's it's not just a western, it's something more than that, I think. And it's incredibly shot. The music is amazing, the performance is incredible, and the fact that the music was already written, which is crazy. Ennio Morricone, an absolute genius. It must be a marvel, when you work with these people that create magic, because it is magic. If you've got a great film already, like you say, and your story's working really well, everything else, your Foley, if you need it, your audio, everything just goes, yep. You get an extra boost of, it's like an adrenaline rush as well. You get this energy boost to your production. And You just
But then
know.
you have a film like 500 Days of Summer, where he had all of that music picked out ahead of time, and he even had the actors listen to the music before they shot certain scenes. You know, so it's so interesting how people find their process with that.
Absolutely. So what are you kind of currently working on at the moment?
So I actually, because so my next short film that I'm working on, it's called Final Arrangements. So my brother passed away 5 years ago from suicide, and
Sorry to hear that.
oh, thank you, thank you. And I mean, the thing is like we don't talk. There's so much talk about around mental health around the person who takes their life, but there's not much conversation about the people who are still here and what that looks like. And I remember going to the funeral home with my parent. And the thing is, these things are tragic, but they're also awkward. And there's a lot of humor and like really funny moments. And so I'm working on a short film that I'm hoping to film this year. That's literally just about the experience of when we went to make the final arrangements at the funeral home, and just how awkward,
I love the premise. That's a great premise.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So,
Really like
so
that,
it, and this was something I was actually going to be filming in March, and then everything shut down, and it was the best thing, because I think I get to go back now and look at the script and be like, you know what, are there more ways for me to kind of simplify the story down a little bit? It takes place in one location. It's literally just them in the funeral home, talking to the funeral home director.
That's it's a really great, I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's a really great setup, and you can almost limit it to 1 or 2 rooms if you need to as well.
Well, yeah, it's all taking place in one room, and it's just literally like the mom, dad, and one of the sons sitting, because I went and did that with my parents, and it is funny though, because as a creative, whenever you're in a life situation, I always find myself like taking stock of what's going on around me and listening to what people are saying, and just the awkwardness of like, okay, you have to write like the obituary, and you only have a certain amount of characters, and you have to pay for more characters after that, and it's just like, we're trying to fit this shit into like 25 words. And it's like, it's just awkward and stupid, and you're in the middle of breathing.
The fact that you can step outside of that process and think about, like, from a creative point of view, that's really, like, that's what stand-up comedians do all the time. They observe, they see things in the world, and they kind of have brilliant, simple jokes, and you think, oh, why didn't I think of that? And yeah, I really like the idea. I like the idea of someone sitting down, people are arguing in your film, and someone's flicking through a catalog that's just for like coffins, and they're like thinking, it's almost like he's reading just any old magazine, but it's just purely like, almost like a cheesy spread about what the other options are.
Exactly what happened. It was surreal. But there's something else I was going to tell you too about that. Shoot, I can't remember what it was. But yeah, and I write things that are kind of cathartic to me, and then finding like what is the story in this. And I have a feature idea that I want to make about the experience of going home for my brother's funeral. But kind of like what we were saying is like discovering who is the antagonist and who's like what is the, because the brother would not be the antagonist. It's something else. So it's like having to, when you're drawing from real life experiences, it's so hard not to just want to like, oh, this happened and this happened, this happened. It's like, that's boring. So it's like trying to find the arc and the, with these real life things. But I just love drawing from my life. I've been through a lot of crazy shit, and it makes for the best, content.
It does. It really does. And I kind of like, there's situational comedy like Faulty Towers in the UK that starts off calm. It's the hotel, and it's like an establishing shot. And then gradually throughout the episode, it starts to get manic and crazy. And I think that's the genius of those things. And yeah, I'm really curious to see how your film kind of pans out. And it's a really nice setup. I really like that. And I've got an idea for, it wasn't based on your film, but a dating film, but the location's the key thing.
Yeah.
And I might share that with you in a couple of weeks or so. But yeah, it's that's a brilliant idea. I can't wait to see it. I think
thank you so much. I appreciate that, because now it's where things are opening back up, and it's like, all right, it's time to start making stuff again on a bigger level.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
What
how
about
long
you?
did
What are you at working on?
uh I just got married. That was the biggest thing.
It finally happened. Good.
It
Congratulations.
finally happened. I got this giant thing.
Yes.
Basically, this ring, this is a really geeky thing. This ring here, you can't quite see it, but
Uh-huh.
it's
I see it.
the size of it there. This is the same ring that Ed Harris wears in The Abyss. That stops the door
Nice.
closing. I don't know if you've seen the film, but it stops
Yeah.
the hydraulic door closing and all that.
Yeah.
The company in Canada that made it for the film made it. I got exactly the same.
That's
So yeah,
cool, dude.
it was really, the price was great. My missus was really happy about that. So it's just a piece of aircraft standard titanium, and then it's the
That's
silk
cool.
design. And I love the idea. I just love that in the movie. I thought, right, I've got to have that. And it has this saying in it, "You'll never walk alone." It's from my football club in Liverpool. Uh,
Oh,
so it's that I was working on, and I've got this Roman short film. And production wise, it was originally intended to be an advert for a company that owned this huge piece of land. They're redeveloping it to make it look like Roman Britain.
oh
And
wow.
we're talking about dozens of dump trucks of ground being moved, like a serious development of a piece of land, like a landscape, a
Mhm.
bit constructed, kind of garrisons, all of that. So huge project. And I know the fellow that's running it. And I said, yeah, let's, because he does these Roman tours in Chester. And I said to him, well, let's make a short film and about like a promo. And there's a whole idea of basically it's a whole scene and this whole kind of this MacGuffin that's in the film is actually at the end. The reveal is it's being talked about to a group of kids by a guide, and it's you'll see that the story at the beginning is from a child's point of view, and the guide is actually the main character in the film, and because the kid pitches him as the villain kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So, but the production in terms of the Roman style fort and the costumes and everything, that's not going to cost me a dime. It's not going to cost me anything. But it's
Nice.
and it's going to be shot in anamorphic because it kind of lends itself to that.
Mhm.
Um, that's a project I've had for 2 years, and it's like it has to be terrible weather. It has to be like cold and horrible,
Uh-huh.
and then I've got to have a limited crew of people that will be, the score, um, that are on the same page as you creatively.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't have to have the same kind of talents, but they need to be there, not start looking at their watches and wanting to go
Yeah.
home, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got to kind of work that out in the next few months, and then my show reel I have to put together, and I shoot kind of drone content professionally as well.
Oh wow.
So it's there's a lot of people looking for work, which is great.
Yeah.
There's work there, but it's it can be exhausting as well. But yeah, it's a lot going on and redeveloping in the back garden. There's lots to do.
Are things reopened there pretty much now?
The middle of June, I think we won't be wearing masks, which is huge.
I think that's what's gonna be here too.
Yeah, that's kind of roughly the timeline, but there's a couple of variants going around, and I got my vaccine as soon as humanly possible because of what I went through in December.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, it's and to be totally honest, if everyone that in the country or every country gets offered a vaccine, they turn it down, and we get to a point where everyone's been vaccinated, we shouldn't be wearing masks anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I've worn a mask every single day at work. Every single day I got the house to go to the supermarket or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Has there been an issue with people not wanting to wear masks there the way it has
yeah,
been? Really?
massive anti-vaxxers, all of
Really?
that protests. Not on the same
Wow.
scale as the US, purely out of population reasons, but
Right.
there has been, like, just think about what vaccines have cured over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And then come back to me. Do you know what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
been huge. I've had people that have said to me at work, yeah, I'm not getting a vaccine. I'm like, and then I kind of rant at them.
Yeah.
I know I'm in a position where I can say that at work because of the head of the company and all of that. So
Hmm.
it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
just get the vaccine if you don't believe it's, you don't need it. It's not just for you. You're helping other people. It spreads it less in a
Yeah.
less efficient way. So
I don't even know if they think that we're going to get herd immunity here in the States, just because there's been a lot of people that went and got their first shot, but they didn't get their second shot. And it's just interesting to see how people are responding to this.
yeah,
It's an interesting culture shock, that's for sure.
yeah. I want to
But
go to the cinema and not wear a mask. So what the rule is here, you can go to the cinema now. It's like a few weeks ago. If you're eating, you don't have to wear a mask. So
right.
I'm gonna turn into Orson Welles by the end of the first film.
It's funny.
Late Orson Welles, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my plan. Just like constantly be grazing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's what I'm like with popcorn anyway. I kind of I batter that, and I love that. But yeah, Matt, thank you so much for joining me on this, and it's been an
Absolutely.
absolute pleasure watching your film and sharing it with the people within the team, and then obviously the judges. And I don't know any results of anything yet, but some of the smaller but just as important awards, like the Ambience Award for sound and editing, that's going to be picked within the team based on our experience. And we didn't want to kind of have too many judges external. We kind of wanted to keep it within our creative team as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll keep you in touch and keep that little secret I told you earlier.
Absolutely. Between you and me.
And then I'll have to go back in 15 minutes into the episode and cut that out.
I really appreciate you choosing my film and having me on the podcast. It also just came at a time when I really needed it. I kind of needed the affirmation of the work that I'm doing, and
Yeah.
and
Like you need to know you're doing the right thing, and
yeah,
are people enjoying what I'm putting out? And it's not
yeah,
like constant, oh, what do people think of me? I need constant gratification through other
yeah,
people's enjoyment, but you just need to know, is it being seen? And it
yeah.
absolutely will be. But yeah, it was originally the judges were gonna get it. I might cut this out, I don't know. I probably will cut
Okay.
this out now I've said it. But we were gonna we could never send all the judges all the films simply because it's so much, and they've got serious work commitments, the three judges we have. And we thought, right, let's score it like we're watching it in a cinema, but give people a break when it comes to audio if they're struggling with it, whatever. That's because we've got people that are 10 years old to people that are further along in life. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we scored it and approached it a really fair way.
That's awesome.
And then we kind of curated it down. We were originally going to send each judge 5 films per category. So there's 3 judges. One of them's for Talking with a Milesful. Check out Michael Chan on our Instagram. He's a brilliant, he's amazing on TikTok as well.
Okay.
So Michael Chan is a really nice guy. He's one of our judges. He's from a podcast called Talking with a Milesful based in Toronto about food. And him and his partner are going to judge 2 awards.
Okay.
And I won't tell you what they are, but they're 2 really fun awards.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, and then we couldn't whittle down the performance awards because there was really strong performances in 7 films in particular.
Oh wow.
So yeah, one of yours.
It's an honor just to be a part of one of those. That just. I mean, because that's the thing, especially when I'm writing my own projects and putting myself in them. Sometimes I'm like, am I any good? So I just even be one of those 7. Just between
as soon as I saw your link for the film, I thought, right, let's play it straight away. I always watch it on the best screen I have here in the living room. I thought, oh, this is cool. This is a good performance. Okay, make a few notes. And then when I watched all the films properly with the other members of the team, and then it's so difficult scoring some films, but yeah, we really enjoyed your performance, and really enjoyed your film overall.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you what the other films are because they're just really good people as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's when I can, I will let you and all the other filmmakers as much news as possible. So it's probably going to be Saturday evening UK time. So,
Okay.
What time is it with you now?
It is 10:43 a.m. here right now.
So might be around this time where the nominees come out, kind of thing.
Got it. Okay. Sounds good.
And we'll try and put some graphics together, and I've given myself more additional work to do. The most of the fun I have is putting the laurels together. You know, the actual design of the laurels.
Yeah.
So I love doing that. I did that for all the films and for the Hellbound Festival as well. Yeah, check out the Hellbound Horror Festival on Instagram as well.
I will.
That's something I run, and I run a podcast called Slayer Talk, and we go through every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayers.
Nice. I love that show.
It's so random, and we've done a recording of Buffett a few episodes now, so we're
Nice.
doing that. So yeah, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend, and we'll keep in touch. Instagram DMs are probably the best way to.
Okay.
I think I sent you a message on there for the first time today.
Oh, okay.
Have you got a red T-shirt on your profile photo? I think
so. Yeah. Yes, I do. Oh, yeah, I did. I just got your message.
So yeah, that's if you want any kind of quick answers within a couple of hours or something, that's the best place for it. So,
got it.
Well, thank you very much, Matt, and that's great fun. Where exactly are you in the house right now?
Everyone always asks me that. So I just have a traditional bungalow.
Is it a sauna?
That's usually it's a sauna or it's a cabin. So I have a traditional bungalow here in Los Angeles, but then there's this random additional room that was put on. It's like 100-year-old bungalow. Because I even asked the owners, I was like, why is this room here and what is it? And they're like, we have no idea. So this has actually become my studio. So this is where I film all my content and all my videos. And yeah, it's just a wood plated room.
Maybe it's got something to do with prohibition, possibly.
That could be it. That definitely could.
Awesome, mate. Well, thank you very much, Matt, and I hope you have a great and a safe day and a great day as well. And we'll keep in touch.
You have a good evening.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of this very hot room now and go and like jump in a lake or something.
Go do it. Go do it. Take a cold shower.
Yeah. See you soon, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.